All right, so you guys want to know the top 3 cities to invest in Canada for 2024? Stick around to the end where I give you guys my number 1 pick. Now, every investor is different and investing is subjective. So, take this with a grain of salt, do your own research, not financial advice, all of that stuff. But these are my top 3 picks. Starting with number 3, Windsor, Ontario. So Windsor, Ontario topped out at $723,000 median pricing. Now, this is aggregate pricing. So this is all property types across all of Windsor, Ontario, amalgamated to form one number. And that number topped out at $723,000 back in March 2022, then fell to $473,000 by December 2022, which is $350,000, $250,000 drop. That is insane. And now it is back above $600,000. So down $123,000 off the top, but up $130K from the bottom. I would say the average home in Windsor is a 3-bedroom home, and currently the median rent it's actually down 15% year over year and sitting at $1,900 a month for a 3-bedroom home in Windsor, Ontario. So your median rent is 3.8% of the purchase price of a median home. Now, median rents are always a little bit lower than what the actual rents are, and as an example of that, my 2-bedroom home in Windsor, Ontario rents for $1,600 a month, and it's worth about $300,000, which is 6.5% of the purchase price. But I'm going to use median rents and compare it to the aggregate median price, just so we have a good way to compare from city to city what the rents are in comparison to the purchase prices. So Windsor is Canada's southernmost city. It borders Detroit. Its population is 250,000, and it is connected to Detroit by the Ambassador Bridge, which is North America's most used international cargo crossing. There is also a second bridge in process. Now, I don't know if this is finished being built yet. I know when I bought there in 2019, they were talking about it and they were starting that process. It may be finished already. But either way, there is a second bridge either proposed or already built. So back at the end of 2022, Windsor's economy was forecasted to grow twice as fast as the national rate of growth. So their GDP was forecast to grow twice as fast as the national rate of growth for GDP in 2023. And in 2024, it's expected to continue to outpace the nation by growing another 2.1% compared to the 1.5% forecasted nationally. So Windsor has a good, diverse, and growing economy. Back in 2008, Windsor, Ontario had an economy that was heavily tied to the auto industry, just like Detroit. So obviously when all of that nearly went belly up, and pretty much did, people had a bad taste in their mouth about Windsor, Ontario, and I think the vacancy rate even went to like 16% or something like that at that time. But since then, their economy has completely changed. It's gotten a lot more diversified. They're building I believe it is the Gordie Howe International Bridge. I believe that's the bridge that they were talking about. And the Nexstar Energy e-battery plant and the retooling of Stellantis' Windsor assembly plant for EV production. And Windsor is expected to see a population growth of 1.1% over the next 2 years, and then 1.5% from 2025 to 2027, which isn't amazing, but it is growing. Overall, you can still find, really cheap property in Windsor, Ontario, detached homes in the mid 300,000s, low 400,000s, which will fetch you a good rent. Probably not cash flow anymore, but at least very close, maybe cash flow neutral. Windsor's my baby. My first investment property was in Windsor, Ontario. It performed insanely well for me. I bought that home for $150,000. It's worth $300 now. Cash flow $700 a month. I've got a bunch of money in the bank from the cash flow. All around, absolutely love Windsor, Ontario. So that's going to be my number 3 pick for you guys. I'm sure there could be possibly better ones out there. That's the one that I'm picking. That's the one that I'm most comfortable with, and I still see it as a great place to invest due to its low vacancy rate, its diversified economy, and its growing population. Number 2, Kamloops BC. I've talked about this before on this channel. We're going to talk about it again. Kamloops BC has a 1.1% vacancy rate, and 2-bedroom suites on median rent are renting for $2,100 a month. 3 bedrooms are probably up at $2,600 a month. Kamloops economy is featuring healthcare, education, technology. I know they have 3 mines just outside the city, and they are, I believe it's called the TRX Railway. Somebody might correct me in the comments here, but they're building the TRX Railway just outside of Kamloops, which is employing a bunch of people making $80,000 or more per year. Today, the median price of a home in Kamloops is $700,000. Just 6 months ago, it was $600,000, and it actually hit a record high of $820,000 back in 2022. The rental rates are absolutely ridiculous in Kamloops. I know I was talking about the median rental rates. As I said before, the median rental rates, for whatever reason, are always lower than the actual rental rates, because I have buddies that bought $650,000 homes that rent for $5,300 a month. Don't expect to hit those numbers, but I think it's pretty safe to say that if you spent $700,000 on a 1970s split level home with 2 suites, you'd probably get at least $4,000 a month rent, but probably more like $4,300 a month rent. And you'd actually be cash flow positive on this investment in Kamloops, which is very rare to find anything cash flow positive when rates are at 6% in the current economy that we're in right now. The median rent is actually $2,700 a month now that I'm reading further down my script. And for an extra $100K in Kamloops, you get an extra $800 on median rent if we compare this to Windsor, Ontario. Kamloops is currently the 3rd fastest growing city in Canada, growing 10% in 2022. So their population grew 10% in 2022, now with a population of 106,000. And due to affordability, I think this is going to be the case going forward. We have a bunch of people migrating from the Fraser Valley, Lower Mainland, Kelowna, even Calgary, moving to places like Kamloops because of affordability. And pair that migration with immigration, I think we're going to see population growth continue like this in Kamloops going forward. And this is another reason why I love Kamloops so much for an investment. The high rents, the low property values, and the population growth is just the perfect storm to make a lot of money. Now, the only reason why I don't have Kamloops as number 1 is it does have a little bit of a higher risk factor. The unemployment rate is higher in Kamloops, roughly 5.2%, and their economy, I would say, isn't as diversified as other cities on this list, I personally believe. And like I said earlier, I believe there are a lot of people employed in Kamloops that are working on the TRX rail, whatever it's called. And when that project eventually finishes, we could see rents go down because of it. But higher risk, higher reward. I still love Kamloops. I personally would feel very safe putting my money in this city. And number 1, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Number 1 is actually Nanaimo. So Nanaimo is a population of about 106,000, pretty much the exact same as Kamloops BC, on the east coast of Vancouver Island, known as the Harbor City, or previously known as the Hub City. Median price of a home in Nanaimo is currently $745,000. The median sales price went as high as $980,000 in 2022 and as low as $700K in 2023. So we're actually not too far up off of the bottom in Nanaimo still, and the median rent for a 3-bedroom here is $2,600 a month, so roughly the same as Kamloops, but the purchase price is higher, meaning lesser cash flow in Nanaimo in comparison to Kamloops. Nanaimo, statistically speaking, is very similar to Kamloops, also growing 10% in population last year, and actually has literally the exact same population. Rents and prices are very similar. I'd say prices are probably roughly about 10% higher in Nanaimo than they are in Kamloops. But if we look at, aggregate pricing, it's about 5% higher in Nanaimo than it is in Kamloops. However, I would say that Nanaimo has a much more diverse economy and has only an unemployment rate of 3.6% in comparison to Kamloops' 5.2%. However, the vacancy rate, for whatever reason, is actually double Kamloops at 2.2%. However, they're both so low that I wouldn't even consider the vacancy rate as a deciding factor, just because, 1.1% or 2.2%, it doesn't really make a difference in the long run, and I wouldn't even consider it, but a statistic nonetheless. Now, all of this being said, I think you could have Nanaimo or Kamloops as number 1, depending on the type of investor you are. I believe that they are interchangeable. I think in Kamloops, you get a higher ROI with a higher risk, and Nanaimo, you get, a similar ROI with a little bit lower risk, in my opinion. And in Kamloops, I would say, some investors and people probably have concerns with climate, as there's always forest fires in the Okanagan every single year these days. So climate could be a deciding factor, could be, a potential risk with owning property in Kamloops in the next decade or so. But overall, very similar, and I think Nanaimo, just like Kamloops, will continue to grow at a very fast rate due to its affordability, migration from the Lower Mainland, Fraser Valley, all these places, as well as immigration being at record highs. I think all of these things are a perfect setup to see, rocket fast population growth in Nanaimo and Kamloops. And if it were me, I would be looking to buy a 1970s split level home, detached of course, on a 7,000 square foot lot, because those just seem to provide the best cash flow and future appreciation or future potential. They give you a lot more options to exit that investment later on, whether you want to build a new home, subdivide the lot, or just sell it as is. I believe that that specific home type provides the most options for you in the future. So if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, like this video. I'm that Agent Kelly, and I'm making moves to move you. Peace.